April 12, 1945. 9 Mitsubishi G4M Betty bombers cut through the skies over the East China Sea. In the lead bomber, Lieutenant Saburo Dohai prepares to deliver Japan's secret weapon, the Yokosuka MXY-7 Oka, a human-guided missile designed to turn the tide of war. Today, he will face the ultimate test of duty, sacrifice, and survival. In the lead aircraft, Lieutenant Saburo Dohai lies still, his breathing sharp beneath the cold bite of his oxygen mask. Every shudder of the bomber seems to echo the pounding of his heart. Strapped beneath him in the belly of the plane sits the Yokosuka MXY-7 Oka, a sleek, rocket-powered bomb with a single, deadly purpose. There's no seat for survival, no way back. The ocean below stretches dark and infinite, a silent witness to what is coming. Around him, the formation holds tight, escorted by Zero fighters carving paths through the clouds. They are the Thunder Gods, young men carrying Japan's last desperate hope on their shoulders. Ahead, beyond the veil of the horizon, the enemy fleet waits unaware of the storm descending upon them. Every breath grows heavier. Every second drags them closer to the moment of no return. Dohai's fingers twitch against his harness as the bay doors groan open. Wind screams through the aircraft, and the Oka hangs beneath him like a whisper of finality. He closes his eyes for a brief moment, letting a single thought settle.
It's time.
The roar of the Betty bomber's engines was deafening now, reverberating through the thin metal walls, through Lieutenant Saburo Dohai's bones, and into his chest. He tightened his grip on the straps that pinned him into his makeshift seat, his breathing heavy, deliberate. The East China Sea stretched endlessly beneath them, an indifferent abyss, dark and waiting.
5 minutes to target.
Saburo felt his stomach coil tighter. He stared at the dull ceiling above him, trying to focus, trying to calm the tremor in his hands. His voice, dry and low, slipped out before he realized it.
It's just 5 minutes, then it will be over.
A sudden jolt rocked the plane, flak bursting somewhere outside, close enough to rattle his seat. Saburo's head snapped up as the fuselage groaned in protest. Across from him, a young crewman winced and crossed himself a quiet gesture of hope or resignation. Saburo couldn't tell, and their eyes met. The boy couldn't have been older than 18.
You'll see your family again,
Saburo said, though his own voice betrayed the lie. The crewman blinked, startled, but nodded as though he believed it. Saburo didn't believe it. None of them would.
Thunder Gods don't come back.
The intercom crackled again.
Prepare for deployment.
It was time. His body moved automatically, every motion drilled into him until it was second nature. Saburo unclipped his harness and climbed down toward the Oka nestled in the belly of the bomber. The weapon loomed in the half-light of the cargo bay, its sleek white fuselage streaked with fingerprints, as though the men who had loaded it hadn't wanted to let go. A lifeless chariot waiting for its rider.
Lieutenant.
Saburo turned. The crewman stood at the edge of the hatch, his helmet tilted forward, eyes obscured.
What is it?
Saburo asked, trying to sound firm, unshaken.
You'll make it count, sir, won't you?
The boy said softly. Saburo hesitated, his throat tight. Then, with a nod, he answered,
I'll make it count.
He lowered himself into the Oka, his body folding into the tight cockpit, knees crammed against the sides, elbows pressed close. The world shrank around him. The canopy clicked shut, and suddenly the roar of the engines outside became muffled, distant. In the stillness, Saburo's breathing filled the space quick, shallow.
Don't lose yourself. Not yet.
The bay doors groaned open, and a blast of wind rushed in, howling against the Oka's skin. Saburo's heart began to race as he gripped the controls, his fingers slick with sweat.
Breathe. Focus.
For the first time in years, he allowed his thoughts to drift home to his mother in the doorway, waving as he left for flight school to the cherry blossoms falling on the temple steps in spring to the nights he lay awake as a child, dreaming of the sky.
Forgive me for what I must do.
The jolt came hard, pulling him from his thoughts. Betty released the Oka into the void, and Saburo's stomach flipped as the drop pulled him weightless. For a split second, there was nothing, no sound, no motion, just the sensation of falling into eternity. Then the rockets ignited. The force slammed him back into the seat. The air ripped from his lungs as the Oka shrieked through the sky. a missile of fire and fury. His vision blurred. The sea below became a streak of black, and his body rattled as if it might come apart with the plane. He forced his eyes forward, straining against the G-force, teeth gritted, jaw aching.
There it is.
The destroyer emerged on the horizon, the USS Manard L, able, a gray steel dagger cutting through the waves. Flak erupted around him, black clouds tearing at the air. The force of each explosion rocked the Oka, but Saburo held steady, his hands locked on the stick, his heart pounding so loudly he thought it might deafen him.
Hold straight.
He growled, as though the plane could hear him.
Hold straight.
The destroyer loomed larger now, its guns blazing, tracers streaking through the sky like fiery needles. Sweat poured down his face. There was no time to think, only to act. A burst of flak exploded to his left, the shock wave jolting the Oka hard to the side. Saburo gasped as the plane wavered, and for a moment, panic clawed at him.
No, not now.
He fought the stick, steadying the nose. His target filled the cockpit window. Closer now, so close he could see the men scrambling on deck, the tiny figures running for cover, oblivious to who he was. Time slowed. The air seemed to thin. Saburo's voice trembled as he whispered into the emptiness.
For my family. For Japan.
And then, almost as an afterthought,
I hope you forgive me.
the destroyer filled his vision. The tracers disappeared. The sky was gone. A light. A flash of fire and light so bright it swallowed everything. For one eternal moment, there was nothing. No sound, no pain, only silence. Then Saburo felt it pressure, force, chaos as something tore him backward, hurling him through darkness. His body hit hard, water closing over him like a stone, a crushing cold that ripped the air from his chest.
Am I dead?
The darkness shifted. His limbs flailed instinctively, kicking upward, the weight of his boots dragging him deeper. His mind screamed at him to move, to live, to fight. The surface broke with a gasp, a desperate cry swallowed by the crash of waves. Saburo's head snapped back as he clawed for air, the water slick with oil, the stench of smoke burning his throat. He looked around, dazed, the wreckage of the Oka burning like a funeral pyre far above him. The destroyer was gone, its silhouette vanished, and the sky stretched above him empty. He floated there, lungs heaving, his body exhausted, the sea rolling beneath him like a living thing. His eyes drifted to the horizon. The sun was rising now, the water shimmering gold.
Why?
But there was no answer. The sea didn't care. It had spared him, though he did not know why. And as Saburo floated alone, surrounded by the debris of his mission, he realized the most terrifying thing of all: he was still alive. Years later, people would recount the legend of the Oka pilots, the thunder gods who blossomed from the sky. But Saburo Dohai would always remember the boys. They were their smiles, their dreams, and their unwavering belief that sacrifice could bring peace. And somewhere, on the windswept islands of Japan, cherry blossoms still fall beautiful, fleeting, and silent,